Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get our presentation started. Just 1 minute while I quick share my screen. And just wanted to confirm, can everyone see my screen? Okay, looks like we're almost up. Okay, thanks for confirming that. Okay. Okay, so again, welcome to our question and answer session for the HomeHelpMN Community Connectors RFP. Again, this is to talk about the request for proposal that we issued. On prior meetings, we found that homeowners themselves that really need assistance have joined. So we just want to be clear, the program itself hasn't launched yet, but we are updating our website with information. So I wanted to start just by giving an overview of meeting logistics and the program itself. So again, this session is being recorded and will be posted on the website so people can reference it prior to submitting their applications. Again, the bulk of this meeting is really about answering any questions you might have. Here's just a few technical pieces, where you can see, please mute yourself, and we will be taking questions in the chat. So hopefully you can see how to submit that. And then walking through the agenda briefly. Again, we'll just talk about some guiding principles, do a brief overview of the program itself, and then talk through some of the pieces around the application, and then again, turn it over for your questions. So here in Minnesota Housing, our core purpose is that housing is the foundation for success. So we collaborate with individuals, communities, and partners to create, preserve, and finance housing that is affordable. So just as you know, as we're rolling out this program, we do that with this heart and commitment. We've developed a number of guiding principles. We know this HomeHelpMN is a big program, and we never want to lose sight of why we're doing it. So we're thinking about the people that are impacted. We're using intentional race equity strategies. We're really clear that we're focused on mitigating homeowner displacement due to financial hardship, doing our best to be straightforward and clear to minimize any stress and uncertainty throughout the process. And we really strive to be accountable, to be as transparent, timely, and flexible as we can with this program. And this last piece is really what the Community Connector RFP is all about. We want to have that meaningful engagement and work with trusted critical partners led by and working for communities most impacted to realize those equitable outcomes. So again, the foundation of the Community Connector RFP is on that guiding principle as well. So before I get into the RFP itself, I just wanted to make sure it's clear what this Community Connectors would be supporting or falling under. So what we're calling the HomeHelpMN program is the COVID-19 Homeowner Assistance Fund. It is a federally funded program and activity that is established by the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. It's funding 2 states from the Treasury based on an established formula. Minnesota has received approximately $128 million. And the purpose for this money is to mitigate housing-related financial hardships associated with the pandemic. So looking to resolve mortgage and housing-related delinquencies or defaults, preventing foreclosure and displacement. And again, the clock starts after January 21, 2020. So homeowners have begun to experience that financial hardship. There's 2 components to the HomeHelpMN program. Again, it hasn't launched yet, but these are the 2 areas we're focusing on. One is direct financial assistance for different housing payments that will be defined. And 2 is the other significant piece is the housing counseling services. So those are for homeowners struggling with mortgage or homeownership related costs. And so now I wanted to dig into quickly the Community Connector RFP for the HomeHelpMN program. So the purpose is to reach eligible Minnesota homeowners, including manufactured housing homeowners that may not otherwise learn about, be aware of, or access the HomeHelpMN program. We will be launching a number of efforts from marketing, communications, advertising, outreach. Again, we mentioned the counselor function as well, but we know that there's a big difference from seeing some information about who to call and feeling confident that you can trust the process and feel like that's something that's for you. And so that's where the community connectors fit in. We really recognize that trusted community partners are that link between homeowners that are struggling to keep their homes and the HomeHelpMN program. And we also recognize that trust has been broken for many homeowners in Minnesota due to housing discrimination, predatory lending, and other reasons. And we've even heard, right, that with these different lines of federal funds, there are some folks that don't have great intentions that are trying to kind of see how they can benefit. So we know that connectors is so important to know that this is a program you can trust, this is the right avenue to access the program, and also that safe and non-judgmental environment. It's hard to talk about when you're struggling financially, experiencing a lot of stress, and those community partners that can create that open space to talk about those challenges and explore options and solutions. I mean, that's really where we can support homeowners that have been hit hard during this pandemic. So I wanted to talk through a few just high-level pieces to keep in mind for the Connector RFP. So up to $375,000 is available to award as grants from these federal funds. And just jumping to the bottom, we ask that you request the funds that are needed to do the work rather than requesting the maximum funding amount. So kind of just in our guesstimate, we anticipate there might be between 10 and 15 organizations that will be selected. Again, this depends on the size of the award. So the maximum grant amount is $60,000 for a maximum 2-year term. And there's a few pieces to keep in mind, knowing that the application is due on October 12th, about the different reporting and documentation pieces that may be necessary. So a request for $25,000 and over will trigger the need to provide certain financial documentation. An award of $50,000 and over triggers more intense monitoring and reporting. So the timeline, as you can see, we're getting very close to when the application itself will be due. So again, it's due October 12th, 2021 at 5 p.m. Again, it needs to be received at the email address we provided for it to be considered on time. Unfortunately, we cannot accept late applications. There's a few unique parts to this process. We will have a stage where we select finalists, and we will interview those finalists on the 2 dates identified here, November 9th and November 10th. We will be working with applicants to let them know, A, to hold that time, and then B, if they've been selected. And then we anticipate making application decisions on or after November 19th, 2021. So then I wanted to quickly touch on what the role of a community connector is. So it's to inform, engage, and empower homeowners to access the HomeHelpMN program, to develop and implement a focused outreach plan to increase awareness for homeowners least likely to apply, to engage with homeowners and share information, and then to provide support for homeowners to apply for and maintain participation in the HomeHelpMN program. So for this final bullet, what we're saying is that community connectors, just to be clear, will not actually be submitting any applications or providing counseling services. What they'll really do is just give homeowners enough information so that they know what they need to do to take that next step. And we also know that, if you're struggling to pay for your homeowner expenses, that I'm sure there's a lot that people are juggling. And so to be able to maintain participation in the program. So taking those first steps, and then if homeowners are encountering roadblocks or feeling discouraged, to be there to help talk through what those challenges might be to help maintain their participation through hopefully a successful outcome. And then another important piece is who will this program serve? So the program will serve households who are at or below 100% of the area median income. This is calculated by county or different geographic boundaries throughout the state. In the Twin Cities metro area, that's about $100,000 is 100% of area median income. But again, that is less than other counties and areas in the state. And the other important focus here is who is the people that will be served. So it's not just the income, but groups and communities that have been subjected to racial and ethnic prejudice or bias, such as Black, Indigenous, and communities of color, limited English speakers, residents of tribal lands, and certain census tracts. So those are essentially boundaries, such, in different communities. So are not quite neighborhoods, but again, certain neighborhood census tracts. The U.S. Treasury uses the term socially disadvantaged individuals. So if you see that term, again, that's the Treasury's term. We sometimes say SDI. Our focus is really about the people and the need to address the hardships they may be experiencing disproportionately. And then wanted to touch on eligible applicants. So eligible entities need to be nonprofit 501c3 organizations. Listed a few examples. Apologies if that was unclear, that we do need the nonprofit status, and that can include such as community-based organizations, neighborhood groups and organizations. Faith-based organizations with nonprofit status are eligible. However, just note the funding can't be used to support inherently religious activity. So we couldn't support a religious service, but the faith-based organization could hold an information session or engagement session for homeowners. And then also any federally recognized tribal nations in Minnesota and tribal affiliated entities. So ineligible entities are for-profit organizations, government entities, and then this long description here is that organizations that are funded to provide homeownership or foreclosure counseling services, including the Enhanced Financial Homeownership Capacity Program, Homeowner Education Counseling Training Program, and then any grantees or sub-grantees through other contracts for the HomeHelpMN Housing and Financial Counseling Program. I listed here a few eligible uses of grant funds. A lot of this is lifted from the application, but there's a few things we just wanted to highlight. We anticipate that a significant portion of the funds will be people power. So programs, salaries or wages for program staff for the time they're spending on the program, expenses around the informational engagement sessions, personal protective equipment. Of course, we're in a pandemic. We understand sometimes the power of an in-person connection, but want to ensure everyone is safe. And then some of the administrative costs. So there might be technology expenses to have maybe a virtual meeting platform, and then other types of costs that may, administrative costs. But please note that administrative costs cannot exceed 10% of the total award. So, if you requested $25,000, administrative costs could not exceed $2,500. And then I'm going to skim through this. Again, this is in the application itself, but the responsibilities of having an outreach plan. Wanted to highlight here the need to provide, to be able to communicate with people that speak in languages other than English. The engagement for information sharing is really, really critical. And then also recognizing that this fits within the larger HomeHelpMN program. So really that having that active coordination with Minnesota Housing, with the other HomeHelpMN contracted entities, we know that there'll be informal coordination as well as setting up some formal meetings and other avenues to make sure that we're in relationship and in conversation. Again, another critical piece, state and federal requirements to mean that there's certain reporting and monitoring responsibilities of what we need to monitor for grantees, and then what grantees need to make sure that they have available to report to us. So I've listed a few examples of things to consider. Again, this is listed in the application, but we just encourage you to do a good estimate of what the time might be needed so that you're able to include that in the budget. Again, we've highlighted a few different pieces that we may need to review. For those grantees that are selected, we will work with you in much more detail around the types of things we'd want to look for and the systems to set up. So again, just flagging the work plan attachment, make sure you don't miss that. Do complete it. It will be part of the contract. And then again, the program budget. It's really important that you describe why you've identified what you have. Again, there's an application question for that. And take the time to complete the template as accurately as you can, knowing that that will also be part of the contract. So I know I've shared a lot of information, just wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page here. I think I'll turn it over to questions at this time. And then I can dig into some more details around things like application submission and things like that. So I've stopped sharing my screen. If someone can just confirm. Okay, so I'm going to just take a minute and pull up the questions. Where do we send the complete application? So you send the application to the email address provided on the application. It is homehelpmn.state. I'm sorry, homehelpmn@state.mn.us. And I should say, there's a lot of detailed information on the website, and so we know it's a lot to track. But if you read through the application, we do describe a lot of those pieces. I'll go ahead and just share my screen one more time, just to walk through some of those application details. All right, one second here. So, let's see. So here's some of the details. So the application attachments and financial documents are due October 12th at 5 p.m. Submit all of them to homehelpmn@state.mn.us and make sure you save each of these documents with the name of the organization and the name of the document. We'll be working to keep these as organized as we can, but if we don't have the name, it's possible we could lose track, and then that would be unfortunate. I should cite separately, if you request more than 25,000 or more to upload those documents here. So if you can see this email address, this web address, it's really, really important that you upload to that address. Here are the instructions for how to do that. Do not email your financial documents. We cannot accept those for security reasons, and so we will delete them, and the application will likely be considered incomplete. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen and then pull up some of the other questions. So the other request was just to show the ineligible organizations. So if you are part of the homeownership counseling network, so again, if you're funded, I'll pull up the screen for that really quickly here. Okay, so here's the ineligible entities. So again, organizations currently funded by Minnesota Housing through the Homeownership Capacity Program or the Homeownership Education Counseling and Training Program. And then we do have a separate RFP for housing and financial counseling services, and so those funded entities will also not be eligible. I'll just leave this up for a little bit. Okay. Sorry, the questions are a little small, so I'm trying to find a way that I can pull these up. Sorry, just one moment, please. Just a little tech. Okay, here we go. So the next question, do you have contractors or staff in place to provide the hands-on support? In our experience, people really need the hands-on support. So I'm going to guess that this is referring to hands-on support to apply for the program. That's the homeowner counseling services that we are also contracting for separately. They will be available to provide the hands-on support to actually identify which solutions are appropriate for their circumstances, and then do any of the application assistance needed. Does the agency need to have a physical office in Minnesota? I should state this is for services that are provided in Minnesota, and it's important to have that physical trusted community connection. So to my understanding, and if one of my colleagues can correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure if that is a requirement. I would say though that we really are wanting to see those really trusted community connections, and I don't know if that's possible if you don't have a physical connection there. How do I find my community connectors? Those have not been selected yet, but we would be figuring out a way to make sure that they could connect with community. Okay, next question. You mentioned there will be an RFP from Minnesota that will be released. So again, this is a separate request for proposal for homeowner and counseling services. This is an RFP that you can apply for. So the person mentioned the Homeownership Center. This isn't, from my understanding, a direct fund to them. It's an application that anyone can apply for. Here was a question: what examples of financial documents are required if the request is over $25,000? So please do see the application for complete details, but I think I have this on the PowerPoint and can pull that up. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't have that listed, but typically it's things like, it's based on the income of the organization, so it could be something as small as just the 990, so the IRS tax form that you submit, to a full audit. So please do make sure to look at the application, which lists those different thresholds of the documentation you need to provide. Okay, so I answered the question about where to send it, again, to HomeHelpMN@state.mn.us. Make sure to put Community Connector RFP in all caps. I'll show that again so you can see it. The marketing material, so the question about marketing, will that be provided in different languages? Yes, absolutely. We'll make sure, again, there's a separate contractor that's developing marketing and outreach materials, and that is important that those are available in different languages, and those will be shared with the Home Help connectors to use. So you wouldn't need to develop your own marketing materials, although certainly we understand there may be some tailored communications that would be most effective with your community connections. Okay, we have a question about a single family homeowner themselves. How do they apply? Again, this program hasn't yet launched. Once it does, we will be broadcasting widely how you can access the support through the program. Okay. And then double check, make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay. So I will just pause for a moment here and make sure I haven't give you some time for those that, okay. Oh, just to clarify, the counseling RFP is closed at this point. All right, so I'm going to pause for one moment and see if there's any other questions. In the meantime, I'm going to just pull up the application website itself just so you can see where to find all the information. We have a lot going on right now to really get this out the door, and so I thought maybe if I can just kind of help navigate through the website itself, that might be really helpful. So I'm just going to take a moment here, keep an eye out for more questions. All right, one moment, please. All right. So I'm just going to start by showing you where you can link to it. So if you go to our website here, under special announcements and upcoming events, there's a number of different updates. And here you can see the request for proposals under this tab. So where it says click for more information, just click there. And we have listed a few different requests for proposals. This is the one for the community. I realize this is in the way. This is one for the Community Connector RFP, where it says a grant opportunity for community-based organizations. It lists the deadline, and then here's the pieces to reference: the application, budget plan, work plan, and then it lists a few other pieces to note. We have the information session recording in PowerPoint here. I'm just going to briefly pull up the application itself so that you can see kind of the overview. So we have this overview here with the different details, guiding principles, grant responsibilities. So I'm skimming through quickly. The estimated funding and timeline, eligible applicants and eligible organizations, eligible uses, etc. So if you want more details about just what needs to happen, we list the scoring criteria. So we encourage you to take a look at that just to kind of think about how to prioritize what you're communicating, and then where to go for questions, and then submission instructions. So if there's any questions about these, happy to answer now, but here's where you can reference the different pieces about how to submit. So here's a checklist you can run through, and then just the contact information about your organization. And then this is where the Q&A piece. So I just wanted to make sure to orient you to some of these different details about the application itself. And then, sorry, I'm spinning so quickly. I'll scroll all the way to the bottom where it talks about, okay, here's the link with a financial review. So if it's under $50,000, submit the most recent board reviewed financial statements. If your organization's annual income is between $50,000 and $750,000, submit the IRS Form 990. If it's over $750,000, submit the most recent certified financial audit. And then here's where you can find the link as well to upload your financial documents, and then the instructions to take care of that. So thanks for bearing with me. I just I know it's a long document, so I wanted to just help make sure that you could know where you could find some of these pieces if you have any questions once the seminar has wrapped up. So I'll stop sharing my screen again, check and see if we have any other questions. Okay, so the next question, will you be using a similar system to HomeHelpMN for payments and eligibility? So for the HomeHelpMN document itself, or I'm sorry, program itself, it is a different system with a different process and eligibility determinations. We'll make sure to describe all of those pieces once the program has launched. I'll wait one more minute and see if there's any other questions. Otherwise, I wanted to highlight one federal requirement. I'll share my screen again. So a federal requirement is to obtain a DUNS number. This is a data universal numbering system. From what I've heard, looking into this is relatively simple to request, but it does take 1 to 2 days to request the number. So as we're getting close to the final application due date, if you are thinking of applying, please make sure to request this as soon as possible to make sure you have the number in time for your application. Again, this is something we have to verify at the time of the application, and if we don't have it, unfortunately, the applicant won't be eligible. So I'm going to leave this up for a little bit, just to give you a moment to see the information. All right. So I'll stop sharing my screen and I'll take one more look at questions. And if we don't have any more, we can end the session early. All right. So I am not seeing any further questions. Again, this is going to be posted on the same page I showed you where there's, we list application information, so you can reference this for any questions. And then we also will be posting a written question and answer document. So all the questions we received today, we won't include your identifying information. All those questions we received today, as well as any that we've received up to today, will be on that document and posted online. So that might be a nice reference for you as well. Okay, I'll take one more minute. I am not seeing any further. Oh, sorry, some of these are out of order. Okay, I'm going to take one more look. So someone asked, they earn between that $50,000 and $750,000 site, don't deal with IRS documents. The IRS 990 form is a tax exempt form, and so that would be the form to submit. A question is asking about applying through USDA. If you're referring to homeownership assistance through USDA, that would be unrelated to the HomeHelpMN program. But again, in the time from when between now and when the program launches, we know there's still a lot of need. So we do encourage people to reach out to the Homeownership Center for counseling if they need it now, and to explore some of these other potential areas of assistance. Do we type directly into the PDF? The mission and activity section cuts off ability to type after less than 500 words. So you do need to type into the PDF. I'd wonder, we've set the max at 500 words. I will make a note to look into that in case that's a tech issue. Thanks for flagging that. Because yes, you will type into the PDF and attach that. And then, oh, I see someone has left, but yes, it's to provide outreach and engagement services. Let me see if there's anything I missed. All right, so I believe those are all the questions we received. Again, thank you for taking the time to attend the session and to ask these thoughtful questions. Please do make sure to reference all these materials as we're getting close to the end. At this point, it's really, starting Monday, we won't likely have the capacity to answer questions, but at least wanted to give you this information. So if the organization has a fiscal sponsor, I believe that must be referencing fiscal agent. So the eligible applicant is the one that needs to apply. So you would want to include the information for the fiscal agent, but explain kind of that relationship. All right. Yep. So the fiscal agent is why the organization would be eligible to apply. So just make sure that you are providing the information. So with that, I see we're at time. Well, not at time, but we've exhausted all the questions for today. Thanks again for your participation. I'm going to end the broadcast, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you.